in my screen, yeah?
Yeah, that's on presenter mode now. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So, hello everyone. I'm Leticia Ortega. I'm from the Valencia Institute of Building, and we coordinate the iEPB project. Integrated EPB assessments, a pathway for effective EPDB implementation. That's the whole name. Okay. What happens? But I'm trying to move, but it doesn't move. I don't know.
Try to both click or the arrows. If you click. Or there you go.
Here, okay.
Perfect.
I found the button. Sorry.
Perfect. Yeah, that always works.
Okay. It is a 3-year project. It has an overall budget of almost 2 million. We are 12 partners in total, and we have 4 countries inside, but 3 demonstration ecosystems: the Netherlands, Austria, and Spain. The main idea of the project that it's behind is to help to improve the synchrony between the multiple building performance assessments by developing a common data model. Especially, we will take into account the EPCs, the smart readiness indicator, and the energy audits that are needed for the energy renovation recommendations as the main points. Why we came up with this idea and the iEPB project in first place. I will explain the context very briefly. We did a very deep analysis of the customer journey for the EPCs, let's say, and taking into account the whole procedure, we detected that there were a lot of different issues hindering the whole process, and that makes the coverage to be less than 10% in the whole Europe. So that is very low, and we would like to improve that data. That the examples of possible problems in the process are, for example, that the different professionals have to do multiple visits for completing the different assessments. They do one visit for the EPC, another visit to check, for example, accessibility, or to collect the data for the smart readiness indicator in the near future, or accessibility, for example. So that's a problem for them because it's very cost inefficient. Also, they have to use mandatory software in different countries that are not very user-friendly software, mainly, and they are just for one single purpose. They have different software for the different assessments, and they are rigid. They don't include the new technologies and trends, and that makes the process not be very smooth. Also, the whole process is perceived by users as not a very a process with little value, that they don't feel they are part of the procedure. They haven't been taken into account since the beginning, so they feel it as an obligation. They don't see the value on performing such kind of analysis. So that makes the whole procedure not been working, and the administrative bureaucracy behind is so exhausting for the main stakeholders. So based on this context, we came with the idea of creating a common data model that will include in the beginning the energy performance in certification, the smart readiness indicator, and also the recommendations coming from the energy audits, in order to create this common data model that could be expanded in the near future with other possible building assessments, as, for example, the building renovation passport, or indoor environmental quality, or fire safety, for example, in the future. And also we have the ambition to have this model as a standard for the whole Europe, in order to make it more easy for the member states to coordinate all the data coming from different building assessments. That will be done by using official software developers, and to do that in the project, we have official software developers for EPCs, and also in the 3 demonstration ecosystem, but also we will contact other software developers in other countries. In order to present the results, I have put all of them in this slide. So in order to be short, we have as a first main result, the iEPB schema, that is the common data model I have been talking about. This schema will include all the data needed for the different assessments, and it will be the input and the output coming from the different software, so that all of them can talk to each other. Is the common language for all of them to be able to communicate, to improve the synchrony between all the assessments. So based on this iEPB schema, we have we will produce an app, an iEPB app, that will have two different interfaces. The one for the building professionals that will use this web app in order to collect the data in one single visit. They will use the app in order to collect the data, and then also they will have available data that are public available, as for example, data from Cadastre or data from the manufacturers, from products, so that they won't have to look for that data that are already available. And also they will have available the data that other building professionals provided in the past for that building, so in order to not duplicate the work. This app will also have another interface for the user, so that it will be user-friendly, and it will contain all the data from a building that is not in different software, is in one only app, and they will be able to do analysis based on all the data together. And we will complement this app with a tool that will be improved from a previous project, iPanacea. Is a SEPAP tool that will will reduce the gap between the predicted energy performance that it's in the EPCs and the real performance of the building, so that the estimation of the savings, for example, that they could obtain with a renovation are more realistic, and they can invest in taking into account such realistic estimation. So that this tool will be addresses also to the users. Then we will have also a part and a small readiness indicator calculator based on the schema, so that the tool can use the data coming from the inspections and calculate the smart readiness indicator. And also, after all this work and after creating the schema and the apps, we will collect the policy recommendations on the one hand, to convince the policymakers to use the schema and how it can they can take advantage of the work we have done in order to improve the job they have to do regarding EPCs, and also to advise them on how to work on the inefficiencies of the whole EPC procedure, and let them know how we can help them. And that's mainly what we are going to do. I would like to conclude saying that we are taking advantage of the results of other projects that the partners are collaborating in, as we were in USERT, iPanacea, SRI to market. But I would also like to stress that this type of initiative, like the cluster we are collaborating in and the other clusters around, are really important for us to be able to synchronize our work, and also to take advantage of the work done in other projects and make our impact higher. So thank you so much for inviting us, and we will be willing to collaborate in all the activities. That's my email in case you need to contact me for any doubt. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Leticia. So next we will have Cécile Barrère presenting SmarterEPC. So I'll put again the slide deck.
Good. Do you want me to share the screen, my screen, or I sent you the? I sent you yesterday the.
Yeah, however you're more comfortable.
Let me. So I'm supposed to be able already to move the screen?
1 second.
Just
I'm
testing
doing
it
now. I'm activating it. Yeah, it should work now.
I'm testing it. Oops. Yeah.
Just click.
Yep.
There you go.
Okay, great. So it's working. We'll do like that. Thank you very much, Isabelle. Thank you for inviting SmarterEPC to join this cluster. It's a pleasure, and it's very interesting to see all the work already done and the work ongoing. So I'm representing SmarterEPC. I'm Cécile Barrère from R2M Solutions, the French branch. We are coordinating the project. I'm deputy coordinator. The coordinator is Sophie Dorlin-Squaranta. She helped me she prepared the presentation. She's traveling this morning. She sent apologies. So SmarterEPC is an EPC and SRI project. It's funded by the LIFE program. And we are a 9 partner united to build on the existing and just coming result out of the projects that we enumerate since we started the session. So we are a consortium, all the members have expertise in EPC, whether EPC, SRI, energy efficiency, funding and assessments. And we are, our members are part of the project involved in this cluster, the next generation EPC cluster, or funded by the LifeSet Smart Ready call. And I was earlier this week in a cluster more related to SRI project, SRI focus project. So our proposition is to integrate 7 EPC and SRI tools in order to enable the issue of common EPC and SRI assessments. So this proposition aims to tackle the remaining needs and challenges expressed by the community working on and with the EPC and SRI schemes. So what we want to do is to support the EPC and SRI market uptake. We want to establish clearer links between EPC and SRI schemes. We want to pool, it's very important, the EPC and SRI tools that are developed throughout the projects. We want to ease access to the SRI platform existing already. We want to smooth the data collection and aggregation. We want to standardize the on-site audits. For EPC and SRI, we want to demonstrate that EPC and SRI can positively impact the real estate value. It's very important for the market uptake of the schemes. And we want to create a joint program for EPC and SRI assessors. So it's just to mention the main motivation for the SmarterEPC project. So SmarterEPC aims at creating the first open access platform that will promote and establish joint EPC and SRI assessment. So the first version of the tool we want to create during the project will integrate 7 tools issuing EPC and SRI. So you see the logo that we have already seen in the previous presentations in the center of the slides. So the idea is really to create a flexible platform that will allow the aggregation of all type of EPC and SRI tools, developed in different languages and matching local technical catalogs. So the idea is to ease the smart input of the data as well. That is an important point touch in different projects. So here I mentioned complementary actions that want to further harmonize the 2 building assessment schemes. I'm mentioning the development of a standardized EPC and SRI audit process. I'm mentioning as well the development of the common training program that we want for EPC and SRI. I mentioned the KPI of 200 auditors that we want to train over 12 months and in a minimum of 8 to 10 countries. Here I mentioned Cyprus, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Netherlands, Romania, Spain and Sweden, where we have partners located. We want also to support the EU policy and to ease the access and the use of the SRI platform already available. And all this effort is really there to support the adoption of the SRI national policies. There is, it's not official, and we hope we will see it in the next publication related to the recent EPBD recast. But there is a date of 2026 for maybe the mandatory SRI assessment for building over 290 kilowatt-hour. heat production. So time is really short until 2026. So we hope the project will contribute in helping the people preparing for this mandatory assessment. So to finish, I present here our Gantt chart. So we just started to work. The project started in October 2023, so less than 3 months ago. We have a budget of about 1.9 million. And we will work for 3 years. So we start with a traditional deep assessment of the starting point. So we are really looking closely at the tools. Yesterday we had a workshop with a demonstration, explanation and demonstration when possible of the 7 tools that we want to integrate, and we were really impressed by the amount of work already done. So I think it's important for us to take the time to analyze what can be reused from this project, to be an active part of their exploitation plan as well for the projects that have finished or are just going to finish. Then we have 1.5 years of development, design and development of the SmarterEPC platform. Then we will demonstrate the platform in selected case studies. So you remember I introduced this idea of 200 auditors, and we want these auditors to demonstrate that they have kind of really integrated the training that they will receive, assessing at least two buildings. So this demonstration is done this way. And we have a series in parallel, a series of work related to the production of a roadmap for the SRI to achieve the SRI mandatory in 2026. And yes, we want to create this support center for SRI committees that are been created in, I think, about 10 countries already. And in you see at the very bottom of the slide this effort of replication, exploitation of the project results, starting from now to the end of the project, to make sure that our platform reach the users and reach its goal. So that's all for me today. Thank you very much for listening. I invite you to visit and to join and follow our social media, LinkedIn and X. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cecile. So next we would have tunES with George. I will just change the control. George, are you ready?
Can I be heard now?
We can hear you well, and yeah, we can hear you well.
Perfect.
Just let me know.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm used to Teams. Hi, everybody. My name is Georg Vogt from Empirica. First remark is we are not a technical project. That's, I think, we differ here from the majority of the projects. We are. Can I click forward, or maybe you, Isabel? I can click forward. Sorry, I see it now. Yeah, we are not a technical project. We are a project of energy agencies which plan to implement EPC and SRI in their newest form. And we have come together to basically prepare for the transposition of the EPBD recast as it is now public. At the time, we didn't know when it will be, but somehow the timing obviously is predictable to some degree. And we are supported by some technical partners to clarify technical questions. But most of all, we are going to base our insight on our work and our policy work on what has been done by you in your projects. One of the first steps is to understand what the national agencies can do. I mean, in the project represented are national agencies, which are most responsible in preparing the legislation on national level. They obviously do this in conjunction with the ministries or responsible organizations. And the first thing is, if you want to implement law, you have to see what you can do. And we have clustered blocked the entire field into 5 called building blocks. which is divided into understanding EPC, basically what is visible on an EPC, how could be upgraded, dynamic EPCs, for instance, database and tools, which are might already partially exist in some, but not all countries. Now, as we learned, required in the EPBD for all countries, to store the data and make it useful. SRI as a completely new instrument. And then what we just heard in the past presentations, particularly the integration of the instruments into one flow, yeah, be it one process, one method, one tool, whatever it may be. It depends on the approach. How do we work? So I just briefly present this as the split on where we want to cooperate with you and what we are going to do, and we may be helpful for you. So the 7 member states want to implement the policy. For this, they need to collect, do stakeholder engagement, prepare the policy and design the policy options, make an analysis and do a so-called impact assessment to be convincing of on national level to pass legislation necessary. So predominantly, we are supporting these member states in doing so, but obviously we are preparing, first of all, guidance for everybody because we prepare it for 7. So if any other member states want to follow our approach, they could do so. But secondly, we obviously will build on whatever has been done in European level. So this means that we will collect practice. I skipped the word good now. It was the proposal word. We use it still in the slide, but what does it mean? Practice from your projects and so on. Now, how are we going to do it? Here we are maybe yet more a little bit different, is that sometimes transposition of EU directives is done as something which needs to be done. Yeah, and if there are no resources, then it's sometimes a copy-paste job, which is obviously not good for anyone because it doesn't achieve the objective. And clearly, the national approach has not been tailored to the national context. We want to avoid that. We want to prepare early with the member states to develop the best possible solution in each country. What we use is the so-called Better Regulation Guideline. It is the toolbox of the Commission to plan and do their own directives, impact assessments, etc., evaluations, etc., etc. And we do it in a simplified form because it is quite a laborious process on EU level. Here, I haven't said anything about us. We, Empirica, do both projects, technical projects, as well as policy consulting, for instance, for the European Commission, but also on national level. So what it starts with is to understand the national problem, what is actually needed in national context. It might be that some country already has a great database and the issue is somewhere else. It might be the penetration of EPC is already low, whatever. The situation will differ. Then to collect what the options are, the alternatives are of what I could do across the EU. This is basically what, the work you have done and what I will come to in a second. Design the policy options, engage the stakeholders to see what will actually get buy-in, do an impact assessment to basically ramp up all the evidence and make clear that this is the best way to go to ultimately successfully roll it out and get legislative approval and also approval from those who matter so that the impact of the WISE policy option is also achieved. So the list is probably not complete or may not be complete or not use the most recent logos. Some of the projects we are involved in, I saw Günther before in the list. I might have missed someone. So greetings to everybody from TUNES. And we will start with basically collecting what there is. So what we will do is to create a compendium of your practices, the evidence you have collected on what is good and maybe what is not good. And if it's not good, for what reason? It might be reason in national context that something does not work in this country because, yeah, and this is a learning for other countries as well. Or it might be not working because, I don't know, some assumption was wrong, whatever. Yeah, it's scientific collection of practices. Then any recommendations you might have, because you have done your project, you've went through the process, but you might conclude at the end, it would have been better if we done this differently. Yeah, this is important because whoever follows from you could start a little bit ahead and do even better. And ultimately also listing the policy measures which are required to actually achieve that. Especially the last part, is political recommendations and so on. Technical projects typically struggle with this, let's put it this way. We do this kind of work, so we are here happy to also contribute. All of this will be a living document. I now learned that you have a Teams plan, so it can be on the Teams, for instance. And obviously, we understand that each of your project is at a different point in time. Yeah, some of you are close, you have your results, some of you are planning of an action. It doesn't matter. We first want to collect everything to know what there is. And if it needs updating, it will be updated. Yeah? It is a living document. As long tunES is running until August 26, sorry, we will be editing it and improving it. So we hope to win you as co-editors of these practices, and we believe that through our editing, you get very good summaries of what you have done, which you may be able to use for your own deliverables. And what are we collecting? Yeah, I have now just spoken theory, now a little bit more in practice, is this block, whereas our one row will already be added. I speak to this in a second. The beginning, a descriptive title of the practice. Here I must say, we don't mean that one project is one practice. It could be that one project has multiple practices, and it could be that one practice is done by multiple projects. But we want to create the landscape, so we will be looking at it and seeing how it comes together, obviously talking with you, and create this compendium. So the beginning is kind of positioning in the building blocks, where it has been, source, contact details, because we want to acknowledge your work. It's your work, not our work. And then what is the practice good for? Yeah, I mean, which problem does it solve, or why is it needed? This is important because I, as a member state, reading the practices, would self-identify. Yeah, I would see, I have this problem as well. I want to try this practice or consider this practice to actually solve it. A description as is of what you have done, any evidence you have collected, so basically your evaluation reports, the gist of it, any lessons learned for the future. Yeah, what would you have done differently? What would need to be considered in different settings? Any insights you have? The policy measures required to actually proceed with this. Yeah, it might be quite mundane stuff like definition of an indicator. Again, we have now learned from EC that certain indicators may or may not be already defined by the European Commission. This wasn't entirely clear to me. Not obviously, but in the policy process relevant. Typically, you should be also able to define how the success, the impact of the measure can be evaluated in the future. The row I would add now, or already have added in our template, is that once the EPBD is public, we would also reference to which new requirement of the EPBD it relates. Yeah, basically which transposition problem it solves. Again, this part would be edited by us. It would not have to be edited by you. As to the status, we have created the first version of the file. We are now editing it, first internally within tunES with the partners who have done it. We would then share it with you, and then hopefully get your contributions on improving the text we have drafted, adding any practices we might have missed, because it is quite a job going through 15 projects. And hope to start the discussion and basically say, yeah, this is an overlap, this is actually the learning, and so on. And all of this, as I said before, iteratively. It is not to create a final result tomorrow or whatever. We will have to publish our deliverables at certain points in time. But overall, this is to be a flow and simply a central point. thank you, and I hope this would help. And final extension, if you are active with any energy agencies which are not represented by TUNES, obviously anything regarding the methodology we will share and will be public. So if you wish to do it with them, you could use our resources as well.
Thank you very much. Then next, we will have the last pitch of a new project, which is EPBD.wise. So, Lucas, if you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot.
Just click once, and it should work then.
Now it works. Great. Yeah, thanks for this invitation to share the concept, the overview of the project EPBD.wise. The full title of the project is Effective Implementation of the EPBD in line with short-term and long-term policy requirements. So, although the EPBD is still not finally approved and adopted, we expect that there will be some new and partly revised and enhanced policy elements. And we picked out 5 of them, which we will explore further and try to give guidance to some member states and to the EU in general for the implementation of these elements. And these elements are first zero emission buildings, then national building renovation plans, minimum energy performance standards, building renovation passports, and last but not least, as an important basis, EPCs. And I'm very happy about having the opportunity to present the project here, because obviously the EPCs are also very strong and important instrument, interlinked with a lot of other activities and other policy instruments. And in our project, we want to now support public authorities in 6 European countries in the design, implementation, and evaluation of these 5 instruments, and at the same time also adopt a consistent approach for the implementation of building policies, stemming on the one hand from the EPBD recast, and on the other hand also use synergies with Fit for 55 and other EU strategies. At the same time, we also see the need to analyze the impact of recent crisis, geopolitical crisis, economic crisis, energy crisis that might have an impact on the implementation of the EPBD. And by that, thirdly, we want to build a replicable model to support the implementation of the EPBD also beyond the focus countries. So we want to see how the solutions we developed for these 6 countries may be replicated to other countries. So what are the 6 countries? These are Bulgaria, Greece, Hungary, Poland, Romania, and Ukraine. So with countries with specific needs and different situations to implement the EPBD. And in each of these countries, we will first start with analyzing the policy needs. And then we, at the same time, we also try to understand good practice examples for implementing some of these policy instruments in comparable other countries. And based on this analysis of policy needs and good practice examples, we will then provide support and technical advice and develop tailored policy packages and tools. All that will obviously be embedded and be accompanied by a strong stakeholder engagement process. The project started very recently in October this year and will last until June 2026. In contrast to a lot of other projects that as far as I know at least, are funded mainly via Horizon 2020 or Horizon Europe, this is a live project. We structured the project along 4 phases. In the first phase, we want to better understand the policy needs, but also the context of new changing geopolitical and energy market realities. And based on that, better understand what does really help the member states. So how can we specify the policy guideline documents that we want to develop in phase 2? And so phase 2 is this support phase, where we want to really develop and discuss policy recommendations for each of these 5 policy instruments I mentioned before. First, in the design of these policy instruments, their implementation, their monitoring and evaluation, but then also make sure that these policy instruments are embedded in a consistent policy package. And just also to give you an example of how this policy support could look like. So for example, in the case of MEPS, minimum energy performance standards, we want to also model the impact of different policy settings, so how the minimum energy performance standards may be specified, also in relation to EPCs, for example, to assess the potential impact of these MEPS instruments then on uptake of renovation activities and finally reducing energy consumption. Phase 3 is then the replication phase, where we use the results developed in phase 2 as a blueprint to provide the ground of replication to all EU member states. And obviously this will be also overlapping. So we're already starting in an earlier phase in seeing how the solutions that we are developing can also be replicated beyond the member states. And finally, last but not least, of course, very important, exploitation, this final communication and dissemination effort. Yeah, this is finally a slide with the institutions involved. And yeah, I would be very happy to be in touch with all of you, or a lot of you, I hope. That's it from my side.